You ever have one of those days where the silence in your own house feels louder than anything you've ever heard? Where even the sound of your own breath feels like a stranger's? That was me. It started off like any other Friday evening, rain tapping against the windows, soft, steady, like a lullaby I couldn't fall asleep to. My husband was out of town again, his voice reduced to a missed call and a dry text that read, "Work's crazy. Don't wait up. No, I miss you. No, how are you holding up?" Just silence. And in that silence, something in me cracked. You see, people think infidelity is always about sex, about lust, but it's not. Sometimes it's about being seen. It's about the way you start to disappear, slowly, inside your own life. It's about folding laundry at midnight with tears you didn't realize were falling. It's about remembering the last time someone touched your face like it meant something and not being able to recall it. So when I heard that knock on my door that night, I should have just stayed curled up on the couch. I should have ignored it. But I didn't, because when you're starving for connection, even the wrong knock sounds like salvation. It was my brother-in-law, and behind him, 3 of his friends, laughing, loud, alive. They brought the kind of energy I hadn't felt in years, the kind that reminds you you're still a woman, not just a role you play in a quiet house. I didn't plan for it. I didn't even want it, at first. But when I let them in, when I opened that door, I didn't realize I was unlocking more than just the house. I was unlocking a part of myself I'd buried so deep, I forgot it existed. And what happened next? God. Even now, it's hard to speak it out loud. But I need to. Not for the gossip. Not for the shock. But because maybe, just maybe, someone out there knows what it's like to be lonely with someone. To crave something you stopped asking for. To be so invisible. Even a glance can feel like love. So stay with me. Listen. Not a judge, but to understand. Soft music fades in gently. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, because the next story might be the one you've never dared to tell out loud. I'm 36. No kids. Married for 9 years. We used to try. In the beginning, we tried so hard. Tracking ovulation, eating better, praying over little plastic tests in the bathroom at 2 in the morning. Then, after enough heartbreak, we just stopped trying. And somewhere between all the appointments and the disappointments, he stopped seeing me. He's a good man. At least, that's what everyone says. Hardworking, reliable, always providing. But providing isn't the same as being present. Most weeks, he's gone before I wake up and home after I've gone to bed. Sometimes I hear the front door open at midnight, hear the sound of his bag hitting the floor, his footsteps pausing at the bedroom. Then nothing. He never comes in. It's like we live parallel lives, sharing a house, but not a home. We talk about bills, groceries, the water heater, but we haven't talked about us in a very long time. I spend my days pretending I'm fine, cleaning a house that stays too clean, rewatching old shows so the silence doesn't swallow me, filling the void with wine and late-night scrolling. My brother-in-law, Darren, drops by sometimes. He's younger than my husband. Warmer. He always has this half-smile like he knows a secret but won't say it out loud. He lives just 10 minutes away. Always has friends over. Sometimes they tag along when he visits. Sometimes they stay longer than they should. There's Malik. He's the kind of man who knows exactly how good-looking he is. Everything about him feels smooth. His voice, his walk, even the way he holds a glass like the moment itself belongs to him. Then there's Eli. He barely speaks. Just watches, not in a creepy way. More like he's listening for something no one else can hear. There's a stillness in him that makes you pay attention, even when he says nothing. And Jordan. Jordan's the one who makes you laugh even when you don't want to. He says things that toe the line, sometimes crosses it. But he always does it with a grin that makes you wonder if you imagined it. They'd all been to the house before. Game nights, barbecue Sundays, birthdays. But that night felt different. Not because of what they did, but because of what I felt. It wasn't lust. Not at first. It was attention. Laughter. Being asked if I needed help with the dishes. Having someone actually look at me when I spoke. That used to be my husband. Now it was Malik, offering to open the wine. Jordan, cracking jokes about the playlist I'd put on. Eli, saying nothing, but watching me like I wasn't invisible. I wasn't looking for trouble. I wasn't looking for anything. But I'd forgotten what it felt like to be noticed. And sometimes, when you've gone too long without something, even the smallest drop tastes like a flood. It was a Friday evening. The kind where the sky feels heavy and the air smells like something's about to break. Rain had been threatening all day. You could hear the tension in the wind, restless, tugging at the windows. By 6, the clouds finally gave in. I was in the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of wine when the lights flickered. Twice. I stood still for a moment, listening. Not for thunder, not for the storm, but for the silence. It was the same kind of silence that had been living inside me for months. Then my phone buzzed. It was him. My husband. Flights delayed. Probably won't make it back until Sunday night. Sorry. No follow-up. No, how's your evening? No, wish I was with you. Just facts. Delivered like a business memo. I stared at the screen. Not angry. Not sad. Just empty. It was a kind of loneliness that didn't even sting anymore. It had settled in like furniture. I was about to go upstairs, maybe watch something I'd already seen 100 times just to pass the time, when Darren texted. Games on tonight. Can I bring the boys over? Powers acting up at mine. I stared at the message longer than I should have. It wasn't a big deal. It was just a game. Just a few familiar faces. And maybe I didn't want to be alone in a house that didn't feel like home. So I said yes. 15 minutes later, I heard the knock. When I opened the door, Darren walked in like he belonged there. He always did. Malik followed, flashing that easy grin. Eli nodded, quiet as ever. And Jordan, he came in last, wiping raindrops off his jacket, cracking some joke about me being their lifesaver. They settled in like it was routine. Like this house hadn't been drowning in silence just moments ago. We ordered food. I brought out drinks. They made themselves comfortable. Feet on the coffee table, voices echoing off the walls. I sat at the edge of the couch, pretending not to feel the way Malik's eyes lingered a second too long. I told myself it was nothing. But when he complimented the candle I lit in the corner, the room smells like you. Soft, warm, something in me tightened. I turned to say thank you too quickly. Caught Eli's gaze on me from across the room. He didn't look away. Didn't smile. Just watched. And it wasn't the kind of watching that made you uncomfortable. It was the kind that made you feel seen. Jordan cracked a joke about married women hosting 4 men alone on a rainy night. I laughed. Too loud. Too hard. Even I heard it. Something shifted after that. Not in what they said, but in the air. It was subtle. A brush of tension I couldn't name. The way Malik offered to refill my drink without asking. The way Jordan leaned a little too close when he handed me my plate. The way Eli's eyes never left me, even when he wasn't talking. I told myself it was just the storm. Just the wine. Just my imagination. But somewhere deep down, I knew it wasn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain tap the windows like a memory trying to get in. The house had gone quiet again, but their voices echoed Jordan's laugh, Malik's low compliments, the silence in Eli's stare. I pulled the blanket up to my chin like it could protect me from the thoughts crawling through my mind. I kept telling myself it was nothing. They were just being friendly. I was just being polite. But my body didn't feel polite. It felt awake. I hadn't felt like that in a long time. Not since before my marriage started slipping into something more like a routine than a relationship. Before I became the woman who watches her husband more than she touches him. I remembered the way Jordan looked at me when I handed him his drink. Like I was a woman. Not a wife. Not someone's responsibility. Just me. And it scared me how good that felt. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I grabbed it fast, like it was something urgent. It was him. My husband. Flights at 11 a.m. tomorrow. That was it. No, miss you. No, how was your night? Just logistics. Like I was a calendar, not a person. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Then I turned it face down. I tried to shake it off. Told myself I was being dramatic. That all I wanted was a little attention. That it was harmless. But attention. Attention is dangerous when you've been ignored long enough. It starts to feel like affection. Like affection starts to feel like desire. And desire starts to feel like love. I kept hearing Malik's voice in my head. The room smells like you. Soft. Warm. I kept seeing the way Eli's eyes never left me, like he was studying something fragile. And Jordan's laugh. That laugh made me forget who I was supposed to be. I curled up tighter in bed. Not because I was cold, but because something inside me had shifted. And I knew it. I knew that night wasn't just about company. It was about something deeper. Something I didn't want to name yet. Because if I named it, I'd have to admit it was real. I whispered to myself, if it's so wrong, why did it feel like breathing for the first time in months? Over the next week, they kept coming. At first, it felt casual. Harmless. They'd text Erin, your place or hers? And more often than not, it ended up being mine. They'd show up with takeout, bags of chips, cheap wine or beer. The kind of things that made the evening feel light. Simple. And I let myself believe it was. I played hostess without even realizing I'd started to. Laid out snacks. Lit candles. Put on music that felt warmer. I started wearing softer clothes, dresses I hadn't touched in months, lip gloss I used to wear when we were still in love. I didn't do it for them. At least, that's what I told myself. But I saw the difference. Malik started flirting more openly. Little comments. Damn, you make even sweats look dangerous. Don't let me get used to this, I might never leave. He always said it with a smile, playful, light, but there was a shadow behind his eyes. Something that lingered. Jordan started teasing me one-on-one. He'd wait until the others were laughing about something else, then lean in and whisper something right in my ear. I bet you used to be wild. Or your husband's a lucky man. I hope he knows that. It was never explicit. But it always landed too close to something I'd buried. And Eli. Eli just watched. Always watching. He'd speak in pieces, soft, short words, but the way he looked at me, it made everything else feel louder. One night, after they left, I found a small folded napkin under my coaster. I thought it was just trash. But when I opened it, there was one sentence, written in block letters. You deserve to feel again. No name. No explanation. But I didn't need one. I knew it was him. And I didn't throw it away. I pressed it between the pages of a book and hid it in the nightstand like it was something sacred. A few nights later, Malik offered to help clean up after dinner. The others were still in the living room. We ended up in the kitchen, too close, too quiet. I handed him a dish and our fingers touched. Just that. But it was enough to freeze me in place. He didn't move away. Didn't laugh it off. He just looked at me and said, "You ever wonder what it'd feel like to start over?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because the truth was that I had. More times than I wanted to admit. And then, one night, Jordan stayed late. Everyone else had gone. He lingered on the couch while I gathered empty glasses. He stood up, walked to the door, then paused. Turned around. "You're not what I expected," he said. His voice was quiet now. No jokes. No smile. "I thought you'd be cold. Or stuck up. But you're something else." He didn't wait for me to respond. Just left. And I stood there, door still open, heart pounding like I'd just done something wrong even though I hadn't. Not yet. But everything, every moment, felt like we were getting closer to a line that none of us were ready to talk about, but we all knew was there. The tension wrapped itself around the house. In every look, every word, every pause that lasted too long. And I was caught in the middle of it, not running, not stopping it, just standing there, waiting to see who would cross it first. It was raining again. The kind of rain that didn't just fall, it poured, relentless and full of purpose. The kind that wraps around a house like a secret. I was home alone. My husband was out of town. Again. Some conference in Abuja, or maybe it was Port Harcourt. I didn't even ask this time. His goodbye was short. A peck on the cheek. A hand on my back that felt more like a habit than affection. No warmth. No looking back. The silence returned, heavier than ever. I lit a candle. Poured a drink. Put on music I used to love. Tried to remember what it felt like to be someone other than a shadow. Then, a knock. No text. No warning. Just the sound of knuckles against the door, soft but certain. I opened it without thinking. They were all standing there. Malik, Eli, Jordan. No excuses. No game night. No food in hand. Just them. I could have asked why they were here. I could have said it wasn't a good night. But I didn't. I stepped aside. And they walked in. The air changed immediately. Heavier. Like the room knew what was coming before any of us did. They sat where they always sat, familiar, easy. But no one turned on the TV. No jokes. No laughter. Just silence wrapped around us. I poured drinks. The music played low, like it was trying to disappear. And we just sat. I don't know how long the quiet lasted, but it was long enough to make the truth ache. I looked down at my glass, then up at them, and finally said it out loud. I'm tired of pretending I'm not invisible. No one laughed. No one shifted. Then one of them, I still don't know who, maybe it was all of them, said softly, then stopped pretending. I didn't speak again. None of us did. There was no script for what followed. Just the sound of the rain. The hum of a song I didn't recognize. And 3 sets of eyes that didn't look away. That night, I crossed a line I can never uncross. But for a moment, I felt chosen. Morning came too fast. The house was still. Too still. No footsteps. No voices. No laughter in the hallway. Just silence. They were gone. No note. No trace. Only the faint scent of cologne lingering in the living room. The glasses still on the table. The candle burned down to nothing. My body ached in a way I didn't expect. Not from what happened, but from what it meant. I went to the bathroom, turned on the shower, and just stood there. Let the water hit me. Let it burn, then freeze, and still I didn't move. I stayed until the steam was gone, until my skin was numb. I didn't want to look in the mirror. I couldn't, because I didn't know who I'd see. The wife? The woman who gave in? The girl who just wanted to feel alive? I wrapped myself in a towel and walked past the guest room. Didn't open the door. Didn't need to. The weight of it followed me anyway. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I already knew who it was. Boarding now. Home by 3. No emoji. No, see you soon. No hint of what was waiting on the other end of the day. I stared at the message for a long time, then locked the screen. Put the phone face down. An hour later, Darren dropped by. He knocked like usual, but when I opened the door, he didn't come in. Just stood there, hands in his pockets, eyes lowered, then raised, just once, just enough. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. His silence said everything. Then he nodded. Slight. Almost nothing. And left. A few hours passed. I checked my phone. A message from Malik. Just 2 words, no regrets. I didn't know if it was for me or for himself. Maybe both. Maybe neither. Then Jordan sent a meme. Something stupid. Something funny. I laughed. Then cried. Hard. I turned the sound off and set the phone down again. Eli never texted. Never called. And that was the part that stayed with me the most. His absence felt louder than anything the others had done or said. I kept checking, refreshing, hoping. Nothing. He disappeared like it never happened. Like I never happened. And I couldn't explain why that hurt more than the guilt, more than the shame, more than the fact that my husband would walk through the door in a few hours and everything would look the same, even though nothing was. That evening, we sat across from each other at the dinner table. Same spots, same plates, same dull lighting. He talked about his trip, flight delays, hotel food, someone from work forgetting an important file. He was scrolling through his phone between bites, barely looking up. I nodded in the right places, made a sound here and there to show I was listening. But I wasn't. I was watching him. Really watching. The way his eyes never met mine. The way his hand brushed the screen more gently than he ever touched my skin. The way his voice filled the room without ever asking how I'd been. And somewhere in that moment, I wondered if he found out. If he knew what I had done, would he be angry? Devastated? Would he fight for me, demand answers, shout and cry and fall apart the way people do when they love someone they thought they could trust? Or would he just sigh? Like a man who'd finally been given permission to stop pretending. Like a man relieved to let go. The guilt sat heavy in my chest. But not heavier than the emptiness that got me there. I didn't cheat for the thrill. Not for passion. Not for some reckless moment of rebellion. I cheated because I was vanishing. Day by day. Word by word. Touch by absence of touch. And for one night, I felt seen. I felt real. But now I was both. The woman who was ignored and the woman who did the unthinkable. I stared at him as he scrolled. And I asked myself, do I tell him? Do I lay it all bare? Rip apart the fabric we've managed to keep stitched together by habit and silence. But I already knew the answer. Because he didn't notice the tremble in my hand. He didn't see the tears sitting just behind my eyes. He didn't ask why I was so quiet. So I didn't speak. I just chewed slowly, swallowed carefully, and let the silence sit between us like a guest we were both too tired to acknowledge. Because sometimes, the hardest confessions are the ones you keep. Have you ever let something in, knowing full well it could ruin everything? Not because you wanted chaos, but because you were tired of feeling like a ghost in your own life? I ask myself that every day now. Was I wrong for wanting to be seen? For craving connection, for needing to feel like I still mattered? Or was I just human? Flawed, lonely, reaching for something that felt like love, even if it wasn't. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there. Sitting across from someone who hasn't really seen you in years, waiting for a kind word that never comes, dressing up wounds you've never had the space to name. If you have, if you've ever made a choice you can't explain but couldn't stop, tell me. Tell me your truth. Tell me what it felt like. Because I can't be the only one holding a story that won't let go. Left speech bubble, leave your thoughts in the comments. Your regrets. Your what-ifs. Your it only happened once. I read every single one. And if this story touched something deep inside you, even the part you don't talk about, like this story, subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where we expose the truths that live in the shadows of silence. Tap the bell, because the next story might echo the secrets you've never said out loud. Some betrayals don't shout. They whisper. They hide in small moments, a glance held too long, a conversation you play over in your head, the warmth of a laugh that made you feel like you again. What happened that night didn't destroy my marriage, but it destroyed a version of me, the one who thought silence was safer than honesty, the one who believed loyalty was a straight line. Now I know better. Now I know that some doors should never be opened, because not everything that knocks deserves to come in. And sometimes, when you think you're letting in relief, you're really just letting in another kind of ache. Sometimes, you're not opening a door, you're opening a wound.